Surprisingly, there's quite a lot to cover for the Game Week 33 team selection. I'm going to give you my advice on what to do with Bruno Fernandes, who looks like he's injured at the minute, but we're not sure how long for. I'm also going to share my thoughts on what I think you should do with the good players that don't have any double game weeks left like Kane and Saka. I'll discuss captaincy and reveal my captain. I'll share with you how I'm dealing with my benching headache, and reveal my transfer strategy for this game week and the upcoming game weeks. Building from the back, it was a difficult decision picking the goalkeeper this game week, but I'm going to start with Steele against Forest away instead of Kepa against Brentford at home. There's practically nothing between these two goalkeepers. Obviously Kepa's got the home advantage, but I would rather play against Forest rather than Brentford. Brighton have slightly higher clean sheet odds than Chelsea, but it's only by 2%, it's not much to go by. But Kepa tends to make more saves. He does make one extra save per game on average, which means he's slightly more likely to get that extra save point. It's not by much though. For me, I'm going to prioritise the small additional chance of 4 points for a clean sheet over the small additional chance of 1 point for an extra keeper save. Don't forget that Steele could get 3 saves, Kepa could get 4, and they get the same amount of save points anyway. Kepa is a tiny margin ahead going into this game for the potential bonus, but it's not really something that I apply weighting to. When you've got 20 outfield players on the pitch, it's a massive long shot. Don't worry, I've still got it in the back of my head that Steele might lose his slot to Sanchez. That would only be a transfer problem, and I'd only have to adapt to it when it does happen, or if it does happen. It doesn't impact which goalkeeper I'm going to start. Let's face it, with goalkeepers, if they lose the position, they play 0 minutes. If they keep the position, they play 90 minutes. It's not like he's going to get subbed off halfway through the game unless he gets injured. In defence, I'm starting a Newcastle double up of Trippier and Botman against Everton away. I'm also starting Chilwell against Brentford at home, which means I'm actually benching Shaw against Spurs away, and obviously Henry against Chelsea away. It goes without saying that Trippier is the best defender to own this game week. Newcastle have the joint highest clean sheet odds with Brighton with 41%. He's got all that attacking potential as well. I am putting all my eggs in one basket with the double up at the back, but I would rather play against Everton away than Spurs away, and Newcastle's clean sheet odds are almost twice as likely as United's. It was Botman versus Shaw and not Chilwell versus Shaw. That's because Chilwell's ahead of Botman in the pecking order. Chelsea's clean sheet odds are only 2% less than Newcastle's, but with his attacking potential, he's got a much higher ceiling than Botman. I do like to take calculated risks with double ups and triple ups at the back. That's only when the clean sheet odds suit. That's because you're relying on less outcomes for success. So say for example, if you get a clean sheet, you get 12 points. Whereas if you've got 3 defenders from 3 different teams, you'd have to get clean sheets from 3 different teams. Obviously it would be a bad outcome if the clean sheet was wiped, but don't forget going into the match, the clean sheet odds are higher, therefore there's more value there. As you can tell, I value the probability of a clean sheet very highly, and that's why I'm starting Shaw over Henry, because United are more likely to keep a clean sheet than Brentford. I wouldn't say Henry's got better attacking threat than Shaw anyway. Moving on to midfield, I've got Salah against West Ham away, a Brighton midfield double up of McAllister and March against Forest away, Rashford against Spurs away, and his teammate Bruno Fernandes on the bench. Salah is in the running for captaincy this game week. As soon as I could pick my team for game week 33, he got the captain in my buzz team. That's because he faces West Ham away and Haaland faces Arsenal at home. Unfortunately, I've not got the time to record a best captain video this game week. That's because of the quick turnaround, but I will touch up on captaincy now. I had a quick look at poll results on Twitter, and I was quite surprised actually. A high majority were going for Haaland, and it's not even close between the two players. So I had a look at the data like I always do. Haaland's slightly ahead on FPL Review and Fantasy Football Fix, but when it comes to Fantasy Football Scout, Salah's slightly ahead on there. At first I thought there was a lot of recency bias because Arsenal conceded 3 goals in the last match, West Ham actually kept a clean sheet, but I had a look at it, and one of Arsenal's main defenders, Salah, has been injured for the past 5 matches, so I had a look at the expected goals against figures for Arsenal and West Ham for the last 5 matches. It turns out they're exactly the same. To be fair, I would argue that West Ham has slightly more difficult fixtures as well. Something that swings it in Haaland's favour is that City have the home advantage. Salah has to travel away from home with Liverpool. So I am tipping Haaland as the best captain this game week, but only just. If Salah had the home advantage, he was playing at Anfield, and Haaland had to travel away to the Emirates, I think I'd be saying something different. As for the Brighton duo, they've got a decent fixture against Forest away. I know Forest are fighting, but they're not the best at defending. Something I did pick up on was McAllister playing a slightly deeper role in the FA Cup. Hopefully moves back to that number 10 position. That's more optimal for FPL. Luckily enough, he's still got penalties and he's still cheap. But if he does continue to play deeper, I'll probably shift him onto Matoma. Yeah, it might be a -4 because I've got other free transfers to make, but Brighton have got 9 fixtures left because of the 3 double game weeks, so Matoma probably will pay back those 4 points. Usually it's McAllister that gets ahead of March in the pecking order because of the penalty duties, but with that risk of playing slightly deeper, it's March who gets ahead in the pecking order this game week. Obviously I was going to start Salah and Rashford, then March over McAllister, so it was McAllister versus Bruno. Believe it or not, before any injury, I did actually have Bruno on the bench. It is a benching headache though, because I don't think there's much between him and McAllister. I get that Spurs conceded 6 goals in the last match, but Forest have got the second worst defence this season if you look at the expected goals conceded. Whilst this video is being recorded, there hasn't been a solid confirmation. All I know is that Bruno had a nice pack on his leg after his last match, and his wife posted on Instagram that he had his leg up and he had crutches. It doesn't look good, but I don't know much about injuries, so I think it's best waiting for a confirmation myself. It's not ideal that United's press conference is after the game week 33 deadline, but we can only use the information that we know, or should I say that we don't know. In this current position, my advice would be to keep him because he's got a double in game week 34 and game week 37. United have the second most double game weeks remaining this season, and that's valuable. If it's confirmed that he's injured and he's back for double game week 34, you'd obviously keep him. But if it sounds like he's going to be doubtful for double game week 34, I'd actually still keep him as well. So basically try and keep him at all costs unless he's ruled out. If he isn't confirmed to be ruled out for game week 33, just play him as if he's fit, start him in the team, there's no harm in that, just in case he does play. Obviously if he's injured, your bench player will come on, so just make sure your bench order's correct. Now the difficult decision would be, if he's ruled out for double game week 34, do we sell him this game week or next game week? If you're in a similar position to me, where your 11th man is as good as Bruno, or even just a decent option that isn't quite as good, I think we stick it out and roll the free transfer, then we've got 2 free transfers for double game week 34. We might want to bring in City players, so we'll want that extra game week of information. Not only that, we've got plenty of flexibility with 2 free transfers. With 1 free transfer, you can only go to 1 player in that position of the same price point or lower, but with 2, you can switch it up more and you can change a premium from position to position or swap whatever price points you want within your team. It just opens doors to more options, especially when there's a high ceiling in a double game week, instead of actually making a free transfer in a single game week where there's not much to gain from our current position. That's for most cases, but there will be a rare scenario where someone wants a double game week 34 player and it looks like they're nailed. If they're a better option in their first 11 this game week, I think it's worth making that free transfer. It just depends, you've got to weigh up your options. As for Rashford, with the way he's been playing this season, I'd be stupid not to start him. One question that needs answering, should you sell single game week players if you're bringing in a player that doubles next game week? There are a lot of permutations, so I'm just going to discuss the main options. I don't think any player is ever essential in FPL, but if it was a thing, Haaland and Salah would be that. That's because they're the best 2 players for game week 33, game week 34 and game week 35, so I would make sure you've got those 2 players in your team from this game week. I'd only sell Kane or Saka this game week if it means getting one of those 2 players. If not, I would keep them for 1 more game week. I'll discuss whether I think you should sell them or not for double game week 34. That'll be discussed in the next team selection video. Make sure you've hit that subscribe button if you haven't already so you don't miss it. In fact, if you've made it to this point in the video, you're either finding it informative or enjoyable, so you might as well subscribe anyway. Up front, I've got my captain who's Haaland against Arsenal at home, Isak against Everton away, and Watkins against Fulham at home. I have already discussed Haaland previously, that's when I was discussing the captaincy, so I'm going to move straight on to Isak against Everton away. He has got a low floor because of his expected minutes, but he has got a high ceiling as we've seen recently. Hopefully he's got his spot above Wilson. It would be nice to see them both play together, then we're not worried about rotation. I did consider dropping him for Bruno for the safer expected minutes if he is fit to play, but to be fair, I do prefer that explosive potential and the higher ceiling. If you watch my videos every game week, that's something I strongly prefer. As for Watkins, he's been outstanding this season, especially in the second half of it. He's guaranteed a slot in my first team, especially when he faces Fulham at home who are on the beach. When it comes to my free transfer, like I mentioned earlier with Bruno Fernandes, it is very valuable that we've got 2 free transfers for double game week 34. We need that flexibility to adapt to the information this game week, and there's not much to gain this game week, so I'll definitely be rolling that free transfer. If you found this video informative or enjoyable, I would appreciate you hitting that like button. It does help my videos in the YouTube algorithm.